Hey guys, what's up? So this is Roman Saini with Insights and Essentials on UPSC. In this series, we will cover a lot of important topics on UPSC preparation, and today we're going to start our journey in this first episode with fundamental duties. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this first episode of Insights and Essentials with Roman Saini on UPSC. In this series, we will discuss a lot of important topics which will help us unravel the mystery behind UPSC exam. In this first episode, we will deal with fundamental duties and everything you need to know about it. After watching this episode, you literally do not need to open any book, and I'll cover all the details, and I have my notes over here, so we will talk through these notes. So let us define fundamental duties. So fundamental duties are basically it's a moral obligation of all the citizens, okay, to help promote a spirit of patriotism and to ensure unity of the nation. So that is the reason why fundamental duties are present. The most important point here being they are moral obligations and they are not legal obligation. So were they part of the original constitution? Answer is no. They were introduced on the recommendation of Swan Singh committee, and he was an Indian politician. So why this committee was needed? Because in 1976 there was a lot of turmoil which was going on in political history of India, especially the national emergency was about to come into place. So that's why this committee was put into place, and it recommended these recommendations, like need was felt during internal emergency during that time. Then they said that you need to balance the rights with the duties. This is the most important reason. You can't have all the rights in the world without having commensurate duties. So this is the most important reason why fundamental duties were recommended by Swan Singh committee. Now they were introduced by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976, which is also called as mini constitution because it changed the entire constitution of India. It is considered one of the biggest amendment in last 70 years of our independence. And after that, you need to know that this is not unique to India. We did not innovate on this concept. It was taken partly from USSR and Japan's constitution. So this question is also very frequently asked. Now let us see what was the fundamental duties. Originally, there were 10. When they were introduced for the first time, there were 10. But by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002, they became 11. And since then, for last 15 years, there are no changes in the fundamental duties. Now, they are present in the part 4A. As you can see, it is not original part of the constitution. That is why they have mentioned A here. It is in the article 51A. 4 refers to DPSP. So 4A is fundamental duty. 51 is again a DPSP. 51A is fundamental duty. And as it is, I have already mentioned, it is the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. Now in mains, it was asked in 2011, enumerate the fundamental duties enshrined in the Indian Constitution. So guys, let's see the difference between fundamental rights and fundamental duties. It is very important to understand the difference between two. So again, I'll take help of my notes. So fundamental rights is available. Some of them are available to aliens as well, and some of them, all of them are available to citizens. But in case of fundamental duties, it is only concerned with citizens. It does not concern itself with foreigners or aliens. The second difference is fundamental rights are justiciable in a court of law, as I have already told you. But fundamental duties are not at all justiciable in a court of law. The third difference is it's government's obligation to citizen in a democracy to give them fundamental rights. But in case of fundamental duties, it is our, as a citizen, it is our obligation to the government. So that is the key difference. जरूर याद रखना ये जो difference table है. Then fourth is like you don't need to make any law for the enforceability of the fundamental rights most of the time. For example, if it is like right against untouchability, so you don't need to explicitly make a law. But in case of fundamental duties, if you want to enforce it, you will always need to make a law. In fundamental rights, sometimes you might need to make a law, for example, for right to education. But in fundamental duties, all the time you will need to make a law. So we have, now let us see the observations on fundamental duties. They are our moral and civic duties. Okay, they are not our legal duties. Then they are not enforceable, not justiciable in a court of law, and they encompass the integral values of the Indian tradition, Indian mythology, religions, practices. Now they are basically what we call as codification of the Indian way of life. They are very peculiar to India. If you read all these 11, as we will do now, you will find that it is very peculiar to India. So let us see the 11 fundamental duties as of 2017. They might amend it, I don't know, but as of 2017 there are 11 fundamental duties. The first is to abide by the constitution and to respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the national anthem. So for that we have a separate act, I'll talk about it. So it starts with a very basic thing, that please abide by the ideals and our institutions like flag, anthem, etc. It is a fundamental duty. If anybody is disrespecting it, we should stop them. Okay, and there is a legal provision for that as well. The second one is to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. So those ideals like ahimsa, like satyagraha, like not using force, like peacefully, amicably trying to resolve our issues. These are the ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. So we need to cherish them and we need to follow them. So that is our second fundamental duty. The third is to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. So basically, you know these terms. Sovereignty means that we are supreme. Like nobody from outside can tell us anything. Like India is supreme. Unity and integrity is very commonly understood. You can remember them by SUI. And the fourth one is to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. Hopefully, we are not called. We have a great army in our country, but if you are called upon to defend your country, you should be ready. That is your fourth fundamental duty. The fifth fundamental duty is to promote harmony, and this is the longest one, and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, regional, or sectional diversities, and to renounce practices which are derogatory to the dignity of women. So, this is very important. So, it basically tells that despite having different languages, despite all of us belonging to different regions, despite having various sections, these are the three diversities mentioned here, we should renounce all of them. We should not focus on them. Okay, we should promote a spirit of common brotherhood, and very importantly, we should renounce all the practices that are derogatory to the dignity of women. For example, Sati Pratha was very bad, so it got banned. Similarly, Supreme Court is now banning triple talaq. So the practices which are derogatory to the dignity of women, they should be stopped. We should renounce them. And the next one is to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. We have one of the most vibrant culture in this entire world, and we should definitely value and preserve it. Then to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. So it is again it is showing our pro-environment nature, that Indians were always nature-loving people. We always used to live amidst nature, we used to respect animals. So we need to follow those ideals as well. Now, most importantly, to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. Our founding fathers, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, all of them wanted us to get rid of these superstitions and dogma which is prevalent in our society. We need to develop very scientific temper so that we become more tolerable, and it is very much the need of the hour. To safeguard public property and abjure violence. That is, you might have seen when people protest, when there are riots, people destroy public property like anything. They set buses on fire, they destroy police stations, they destroy so much public property. It is your fundamental duty to protect them, and you should refrain from violence. This is your fundamental duty. And the last, according to the 1976 amendment, is to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. You can't stay mediocre. You have to excel either in your individual capacity or as a collective group, because then only nation, our India, can become a developed country. Only then we can realize our true potential. And the last one, which was added in 2002, by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act, it says that it is for parents or guardians that you need to provide opportunities for education to your child or ward, as the case may be, between the age of 6 to 14. Now the age group is very important, 6 to 14. It is not 5 to 13, it is not 7 to 10. Remember the age group, 6 to 14. Now I'll tell you why it is important. Because earlier it was a directive principle of state policy. Now they have changed it to provide early childhood care till the age of 6 years. So you need to understand the age group is very important, 6 to 14. So these are the fundamental duties. Now let us see the various acts which have been enacted in India for the enforcement of the fundamental duties. It is very important to understand. Now why do you need acts? Because I have already told you that fundamental duties per se is not enforceable in court of law. Directive principles per se is not enforceable in court of law. But if you make a law, for example, directive principle says that everybody should be provided opportunities for work, but it is not enforceable. But once you have MG and REGS, then it is enforceable. Similarly, you might insult national flag and national anthem. There will be no legally enforcement, but there are acts to prevent that. So let us see. These are usually prohibitory, punitive and preventive in nature. Okay, prohibitory means it will not allow you to do something. Punitive means if you do it, then it will be punished. Or preventive means it should not happen in the first place. Now there was Verma committee which was there on fundamental duties of citizens in 1999, and that is responsible for these law, most of them. So they said that not all the fundamental duties can be legally enforced. However, there are various legal provisions. So let's say you have fundamental duty to teach your child or ward, but you have Right to Education Act of 2009 to enforce that. You have the first fundamental duty, but you have Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act of 1971 to enforce it. Similarly, you have National Security Act of 1980, so that we uphold the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India, NSA Act. There are a lot of CRPC related acts. For example, if Parliament now makes a law banning triple talaq, let's say in Hindu practices it's Sati Pratha is banned. So these are the laws which are done in the various sections of CRPC to enforce the fundamental duty that we should renounce the practices which are derogatory to the dignity of women. Now there are a lot of Wildlife Protection Act, Environmental Protection Act, Air Pollution Prevention Act, Water Pollution. What is this? This is for that we should be pro-environment. Okay. Now like sedition. Did you see that section 124A of IPC deals with sedition? That you can't wage war against your own nation. That is a fundamental duty not to do that. And then you have RPA Act of 1951, and these are the acts which are very much in place that you do not violate your fundamental duties. So lastly, we need to deal with the criticism and shortcomings and significance of the fundamental duties. We'll start with the criticism / shortcomings. So the most important criticism, as it is very obvious, they are not exhaustive. It means that you should cast a vote, right? Every citizen should go and vote. But then it is not written in your fundamental duties. Does it mean that we should not vote? No. Again, you should pay taxes. Then obviously it is your fundamental duty technically, but it is not legally. In the sense it is not mentioned in the Constitution of India. Then limiting population growth should be there. Then it means that these are all the duties which a citizen should do, but they are not exhaustive. In the sense this Article 51A does not contain so many duties which we should do. Then it is vague, it is ambiguous, it is difficult to understand. What do you mean by, let's say, promoting spirit of common brotherhood? It's very vague, it's not actionable. Okay, and it is very difficult to understand, especially by layperson. For example, striving towards excellence or composite culture. These are very vague words. Then like DPSP, they are superfluous and they are not enforceable in the court of law. They are code of moral precepts. Okay, they do not hold any legal value. Then you have they are performed by a conscientious citizen anyway. So why do you need to codify them? There are so many countries in the world which do not have fundamental duties. Does it mean that their citizens do not perform fundamental duties? Answer is no. So they are saying that it is already performed by good Samaritans, then why do you need it in the first place? And if at all you want them, why it is like an appendage to part 4, it should be keep them in the part 3 along with fundamental rights. So these are the major criticism. But there are a lot of significance also of the fundamental duties. Supreme Court said that though they are not enforceable, it is held by Supreme Court, they are obligatory to all the citizens, like we should do it. It's a Supreme Court directive. Then secondly, it is gentle and a swift reminder that citizens have duties towards India, towards their society, towards their fellow brethren. We have a duty which we need to abide by. Then it is a strong deterrence to anti-national feeling or sentiment and anti-social activities like disrespecting the national flag, national anthem, destroying public property and doing violence. So it is very much anti to that. Then it is a source of inspiration for citizens and it promotes a sense of discipline, honor, loyalty, patriotism towards the nation. And citizens are not just passive observer according to fundamental duties, but they are active participation in the realization of the true potential of our great nation. And lastly, they will. This is very important. So, for example, if court has to determine whether a particular law should be null and void or it should be it should be in place, so they will use fundamental duties to test the constitutional validity of a law. This is very important. It has helped Supreme Court in making various laws unconstitutional, null and void because they interpret in the light of the fundamental duties. So guys, this was everything which you need to know about fundamental duties. We will meet again and thanks for watching this episode and do subscribe to unacademy.com and download our Educator and Learners app. Have a great day.